Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and we've made it to the top 100 in my list ranking classic Doctor Who from worst to best. Well, most of it anyway. This is, of course, video 3 in a 6-video series, and today we're going to be looking at numbers 76 through 100 in a list that is 158 stories. Part 1 talked about the bottom 28 or so. The next part 2 talked about the next 30. So don't forget to check out those lists if you haven't seen them, so you'll see what's already come before. But today we're going to do 76 through 100. And we're going to start with number 100 on the list. And that is the Sontaran Experiment, the first appearance of season 12 on this list. I like the Sontaran Experiment. I mean, there is that part of me that really wishes it had been shot on film. It is one of those rare pre-season 23 stories where they did do the location shooting on the outside videotape cameras. And Sontaran Experiment is completely location shot. I feel like it would have looked so good if they'd shot it on film. Though who knows if they'd have kept the original film elements. But man, I really wish they had. It still looks nice. It does kind of give it a unique look, being one of the rare stories from the 70s shot on videotape. And it's good. I like the Sontaran Experiment because it understands it only needs to be a 2-parter. I feel like the idea, if it had been a 4-parter, would have been dragged out. But as a 2-parter, it works well. It's a great second story for the Sontarans. And I feel like all the cast involved are doing a pretty good job. The fight scenes between Tom and the Sontaran at the end are a little clunky due to, one, the actor playing the Sontaran, who I also believe played the Sontaran in the Time Warrior, was in bad health. I believe he had a heart condition, and I do believe he passed away not long after. And the fact that Tom Baker had broken his collarbone in an accident while filming. That's why sometimes when you see him, he's kind of got his jacket over his arm, because it was healing. And so his stunt double, which might have been Terry Walsh. I wonder if that's Terry, actually. Wouldn't surprise me. I think Terry doubled for John and Tom a lot. Was having to do the fighting. And so that's a little clunky, but knowing that, I'm fine with it since I know the behind-the-scenes stuff with it. It's nice to see Harry get to use the Sonic as well. It's a fun little 2-parter that knows it only needs to be a 2-parter. Next on the list is the Space Museum, probably higher than a lot of people would have it. It's another one of those stories, much like An Unearthly Child, where episode 1 is phenomenal S-tier Doctor Who, and then it kind of takes a pretty wide decline afterwards. Now, I personally think, just like An Unearthly Child, that episodes 2 through... I can't remember if Space Museum's a 4-parter or a 6-parter. I'm going to be honest. I don't remember if it's a 4-parter or a 6-parter. I've only watched it once, and I can't remember if it's 4 parts or 6 parts. The rest of the story is fine. It just kind of turns into standard Doctor Who fare. You know, one group's running everything. There's a group of rebels, and our team has to help the rebels stop the group running everything. Episode 1 is really good. I love the high concept ideas of them not knowing what's going on, seeing themselves on display, them not leaving footprints in the sand. Everything that's going on in episode 1 is fascinating. And the Doctor realizing they slipped a time track. And I would love to see the modern series do something like that as well, where it slips a time track and crazy things are happening. That would be cool, because a lot of people watching the modern show aren't going to be aware of it from the Space Museum, so they wouldn't know what was going on. And it might even give them a reason after seeing online, oh, that happened in the Space Museum. They might go out and check. They might go back and check out the Space Museum. I just kind of wish that idea would have carried over maybe into more of a story. It doesn't. It resolves at the end of episode 1. But it's a really fascinating idea that's executed well on screen. The rest of the story is also fine. I like the fact the aliens look kind of like aliens, like the people who are indigenous to the planet, what's done with their eyebrows to make them look a little different. I think that's pretty good for the time. And I like the look of the people who are, I guess, the invaders that live there. I forget what they're called at this point. I like their design and stuff, too. I think the rest of it is a fine story. I think the only reason Space Museum gets crap is because the rest of the story doesn't live up to episode 1. You have such a good premise that the rest of the story doesn't really deliver on. But I think if you look at it just comparing it as a Doctor Who story, the rest of it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I can appreciate it what it is. I'm curious to see what I'll think of it on a rewatch. I've only watched it the one time. But on a rewatch, I'm curious to see what I think of it. Next on the list is Snake Dance. And I do like Snake Dance so much more than Kenda. I love the fact that Janet gets more to do as the Mara in this. She's great in it. The set design is fine. I mean, it's some scenes it looks really good. Some scenes it looks a little bare. Davison's performance in it is good. I really like the actor playing the kind of old wise man in it. He's pretty good. The bit with The Rock is pretty cool. Even if I do sometimes feel like the story's kind of a rehash of Planet of the Spiders in a way. My issues with it, also Martin Clunes is great in it, I might add. My issues with it are Nyssa is useless. Nyssa has nothing to do in this story. The only thing she really has to do in this story is keep up with Tegan, and she sucks at that. So she doesn't really get much to do here. She's just kind of there. And I don't like the fact the ending is not really there. I don't like that so much of the filmed ending got cut out, I guess, for broadcast reasons. Because I love that extended ending. And I'm guessing it doesn't exist on good film quality anymore since they didn't give you a version of it you could watch on the season 20 box set, like as an extended episode. I think it's just like the little work print episode like they did with, I think it's the same kind of quality like they had for the work print with Ghostlight. And I still wish there was an option where I could watch the episode with that at the end. As it is, if I watch Snake Dance again, I'd probably immediately go watch the scene. Because they do have the deleted scene added where you can watch it as an extra. Because I do love that extended ending a lot. So I'm always a little disappointed it's not there. The updated effects look nice for the end of the story too. They weren't really necessary. I feel like the original Snake effect looked good. But the updated effects are a nice choice if you want to watch it with it. Next on the list is Galaxy 4. Galaxy 4 is fun. It's fun. One, I love the Chumleys. I love the Chumleys. They're like the nice version of the Daleks for me. I love them. They're just adorable. The animated versions of them are okay, but I love the surviving footage version of them. They're just adorable. And the little noises they make, I love the Chumleys so much. I like the animation. The people who did this animation, who also did Fury from the Deep, it's a big, and Abominable Snowman, it's a big step up from Fury from the Deep. I really like it. Now, Hartnell doesn't quite look like Hartnell to me, but it's a little nitpick. I feel like Vicky looks like Vicky. Steven is fine. I do think the animation is smoother. It's definitely a step up from Fury's. I love the kind of reddish-orange sky in the color version. The animation works. I don't mind some of the choices they make, like making all of the Dravens look alike outside of the leader, because they're supposed to be clones anyway, so that makes sense in the story. I enjoy watching the black and white version, the color version, and the recon. I enjoy all three versions of the story. Now, going from animation to live action back to animation is extremely jarring, because they did redesign the Reels encampment to where it doesn't match the surviving footage at all. They try to make it look more like you're in the Reels ship. When in the story, they're not in the real ship. They're in the little encampment outside the ship. And I feel like the animation loses focus on that, to be honest. The inside of the real ship doesn't really do much for me. Kind of the weakest point of the animation for me. I much prefer the way it's done in the surviving footage. So it's really hard to watch the animation with the surviving episode and the surviving footage from episode 1. Because about 6 minutes of episode 1 exist, actually, which is pretty cool. So if I'm going to watch it animated, I watch it all animated. Either way, black and white or color, I watch it all animated. If I want to watch the surviving footage, I watch the recon, which is still a really good recon. And it's a fun story. I actually enjoy it. It's very much a good children's story with an important lesson of not judging a book by its cover. And always, always, always keep your eyes on blondes, which is something I didn't need to watch the episode to know. I like Galaxy 4. It's a fun story. Next on the list, and here's where I lose all credibility because it's this high, is Terminus. The story that I call quite possibly the most forgettable story in all of Doctor Who sometimes. Terminus is interesting. How can Terminus be higher than everything else we've talked about, including Robots of Death, Deadly Assassin, all these other stories? Terminus benefits from a couple things. One, the updated special effects help it a lot. Like, seriously, if you've never seen it with the updated effects, watch it with the updated effects. Two, I actually enjoy the story. The idea that this ship traveled back in time, its engine exploding caused the Big Bang that created the universe, and now the other engine's about to go, which will destroy the universe. That concept and that idea is fascinating, and I love it. I'm there for it. It's not told the best in the world, but I love it. I enjoy the set design a lot. I love the suits that the people who kind of guard that place wear. They remind me of the steel suits from 1984's Dune, and I love the 1984 version of Dune. I have the steelbook for it. Well, I don't know if it's down here or not, but I have it. It was literally the first steelbook I ever bought, and I love steelbooks. It's what got me hooked on steelbooks. So I love the 1984 Dune. And the suits the suits they wear kind of remind me of that. I think they're designed well. I like the guest cast in this a lot. The dog outfit, while being a bit naffed, I like it. I like the creature as a concept. Terminus is one of those stories that grows on you with multiple rewatches, I've noticed. Every time I watch Terminus, I appreciate it more. My love for Terminus has grown even just over the course of this channel. Because the way I used to always describe it, if I ever had to describe Terminus in one word, is it's just forgettable. It doesn't stick with you. It's not that it's bad. It's just... It's that story you'd be like, somebody'd be like, have you seen Terminus? Yes. What happens in Terminus? What does happen in Terminus? I remember that the first couple times I watched it, I could never remember what the heck really happened. I remembered it, being connected with the Big Bang, and they had the dog thing in it. But that was about it. My memory would always be shady on it. You really have to watch Terminus like 4 or 5 times for it to really start clicking, in my opinion. And again, the updated effects really help with that. And it's interesting, the director is trying as hard as she can to get, and the director is she, trying to get Sarah Sutton out of her clothes. Because boy, what it puts poor Sarah through in her final story, especially this one shot when she's like laying down in front. Some questionable choices there. But I found that I enjoy Terminus, oddly enough. Go watch it a few times and see if it grows on you, especially with the updated effects. Next on the list is The Visitation. This one is fun. I like The Visitation. One, this is another one that benefits from all of the location work from season 19 existing on film. All of the film elements survive. So the location work for this story looks absolutely gorgeous. And there's a lot of it. And it looks really good. I love the guy kind of playing the mercenary in it, the one with the 2 guns. He's so good. He's one of the reasons I love the story so much. The actor playing him does such a good job, and he's written so well. I like how it links in with one of the great fires there on Paddington Lane, Pudding Lane, whatever it is, though at the big fire of London. I like the fact how it links in with that. I like the alien design well enough. It's not blowing me away, but I like it, including the damage mark on one of them, related to the intro of the story when the family sees the ship land and shoot at it. We don't really know what happens to the family, but probably didn't end very well for them. The robot looks really good when it's disguised as Death. When it's disguised as the Grim Reaper, it looks really good. When it's not, it looks extremely naff. It's one of those you take one look at it and go, this was made in the 80s. It looks extremely naff, and that's why I'm not placing it higher. But I enjoy it for what it is, and I do think it's a pretty good story. Next on the list is the Aztecs. I like the Aztecs. Now, I don't get into the Aztecs as much as some people do. Some people think it's like Hartnell's best historical, season 1's best story. I don't think that, but I do like the Aztecs a lot. One, I love the focus on Barbara in the story. I feel like Jacqueline gets a lot to do here. And she has the best of intentions with what she wants to do here. I really like that. Jacqueline as an actress gets a lot to do here. And Barbara as a character has good intentions, I should say. I love the scene when she talks about changing history. Her and the Doctor are talking about history. She's like, you can't change history, not one line. Believe me, I know, I've tried. I love that scene so much. That's the scene that got me wanting to see this story so much, and one of you guys was really nice and sent it to me. I love the little bit of humor in it as well, like with the Doctor accidentally getting engaged in it. That's really funny. Some of the fighting Ian has to do, and it's really neat. I really love the sacrifice guy. It's the same actor who plays Ash in Colony in Space. He's really good in this as the I always just call him the sacrifice guy because I'm pretty sure that conveys the point. But I like him. He's a cool character, and he's performed well. The set design is really good here. I really like the set design work in this story as well. It is a really well done story. It doesn't get placed higher because it doesn't have as much of a rewatchability to me. I'm not saying it isn't rewatchable. It's perfectly rewatchable. I don't have the desire to go back and rewatch it like I do, say, something like The Reign of Terror, which is considerably higher on the list, which I always love going back to rewatch. But it's a really well-written, well-executed story, which is why it ranks this high. Next on the list, and this is another one of those that's going to have people after me, is The Time Monster. The Time Monster above Robots of Death? Yes. I liked The Time Monster. I've only watched it the one time. The first time I saw it's when the box set came out. First off, the restoration work on it looks very good. I enjoy the story. It's a little silly at times, but I love how it plays with time and the mechanics of time. Ingrid Pitt looks phenomenally good in this. I love the guy playing the King of Atlantis. He is awesome. I love when the Master tries to hypnotize him and he just laughs at him. I'm like, oh, yes, we got to keep this guy. I was so upset when he died. The bit with the Minotaur is a little much, although I do know that's David Prowse in that Minotaur outfit. And some of the effects are rough, like the Kronos bird it's very pulling you out of the story. And when he meets Kronos at the end, when it's the female version of Kronos, the special effects there are not overly impressive either. But I find the story engaging. I enjoy it well enough that it ranks this high. I thought it was a fun watch. A flawed but good story. Next on the list, sticking with the Third Doctor era, is Planet of the Spiders. Which is, of course, Pertwee's final story. It's a little overly long. I actually love the really long chase in it. I know it's an overly long chase, but I love it. It's like Pertwee getting one last hurrah to do his chases, so it's land, sea, air, so he gets one last cool chase in. The spider effects are a bit naffed, yes, especially the great one at the end. I would love to see the story get updated effects. If Invasion of the Dinosaurs wasn't in this season, this is the story I'd be pushing to get updated effects. But I like it well enough. I always think 3 and Sarah Jane get on really well. I like that Mike Yates gets a bit of a redemption arc here. That's really nice. I really like the actor playing the guy with the special needs guy. I guess that's how you would say it now. The special needs guy who's slowly getting smarter over the course of the story. The actor playing him does a really good nuanced performance with that. I really like that. Yeah, I find this one enjoyable. It's a flawed but good story. It's one of those, it's a good story, but since it's in the Pertwee era, it's one of the weaker Pertwee stories, just because the Pertwee era is so good, if that makes sense. Next on the list is Revelation of the Daleks. I like this one. It's dark. This one's dark. This is some of the darkest stuff Davros has done. Basically, the way he's creating Daleks. It's a nice continuation of the Dalek Civil War. Actually, this is kind of the start of the Dalek. Well, I guess technically Resurrection could be the start of the Dalek Civil War. But it's nice to see the Dalek Civil War really kind of gaining momentum here. That's interesting. I really like the guy playing the assassin. The kind of, you know, not as young as he used to be assassin, and his assistant. I really like them a lot in this. They're both really good. But there's some parts of it that really hold it down, like the one guy who gets shot and takes like 15 minutes to die. He's and then there's Clive Swift's character and the woman that's in love with him. I like me some Clive Swift, I do. But his character just feels unnecessary and padding. Although his death when the toupee falls off, I just love it. Because he strikes me as a very vain man. This man who feels like he deserves a woman that's a 10. So when his toupee falls off, I feel like that's poetic justice when he dies. And then the nurse that's obsessed with him and everything she does, just all of that feels like padding and a waste of my time. The actors are both doing good. Clive Swift's doing a good job, and the lady playing the nurse doing a good job. Just the characters feel like padding and don't need to be there. I love the Necros cloak that Colin wears, by the way. The bit at the beginning, it takes too long for them to get inside, in my opinion, and that first part cliffhanger with the statue falling doesn't really do a lot for me, to be honest. The statue obviously is as a prop. Doesn't really do much for me. But I do enjoy the story as a whole. I love the fake out about Davros being the head and how that's not really him. I do love that fake out. I like the woman who's looking for her father, even though I kind of feel like that doesn't go anywhere. I do love both of the actors and the characters. The scene when she finds her father and what's done with him is phenomenal. I love the makeup done on him to show someone in the process of being turned into a Dalek and how his personality's going back and forth. That's really cool. Really cool. And then the scene where they encounter the flying Dalek, especially with the updated special effects, and I do prefer this with the updated special effects, is pretty cool as well. I was so sad when they died. But again, this is a dark story. Season 22 is a dark season. So it's a good story. I feel like it's a little overrated. And it does have some things that bug me. But it is a really good story because the parts I like about it, I really like. Next on the list is The Mask of Mandragora. And really the only thing letting this one down for me is the rushed ending. The ending does feel a little too easy, a little too quick, a little too Deus Ex Machina. I love the story. I think some of the special effects in the story look really good. I love the location work of the story. You keep expecting Patrick McGoohan to show up. I like the guest cast of the story. The guy playing the Count is really good. The guy playing the Prince is really good. The guy playing the Prince's best friend is really good. I enjoy them a lot. They all imbue their characters really well with just personality, I guess. I love this is the story that gives us the famous line, "You can't count, Count." I love that line. You can't count, Count. Tom Baker just delivers that line so well. I love the location work. The studio stuff is good too. I think the sets look good. The costumes look good. This episode is a lot of fun. The beard on the main antagonist looks very, very fake, but I just kind of gloss over that. And the scene when his face is just blank, like at the cliffhanger for part 3, is a pretty cool effect as well. I like this one. If the ending was just done a little bit better, it would be higher. Because this one's a very underappreciated story. This is one of the underrated stories for season 14. Again, I have this ranked above Deadly Assassin, Robots of Death, and Hand of Fear because I just like this story better. I just wish the ending was done a little better. Next on the list is Battlefield. I like Battlefield. It's a flawed but fun story. I love having the Brigadier back for one last hurrah. I love the girl that's kind of playing Ace's friend in this. She's really good. I really like McCoy in this story. I really like... I love Jean Marsh in this story. Jean Marsh is just a phenomenal actress. I love having her in this. I love how well Morgane or Morgana, the name switches depending on what King Arthur legend you're going to. I love how well she's written as a character, how she has a sense of honor. She doesn't necessarily see her as a bad person, just her and her brother have a very big sibling rivalry. And her sense of honor, like when she doesn't fight the Brigadier and when she restores the sight of the blind woman, but at the same time when she kills the soldier because she needs information. She just strikes me as a complex character. And I love that the Doctor stops her in the end by talking her down. His whole speech, and that's a phenomenally good speech, possibly the most underrated speech the Doctor has ever given, when he talks her down at the end about, a child's eyes turn to ashes, no tears, only cinders. That's chilling stuff. that speech. And the fact the speech works and she turns it off. She's the one who turns off the device. You know, is this war? Is this honor? Just nothing but death and death and death. I love that speech. Absolutely fantastic. Some bad parts of the story. The location work is a little rough. Again, being shot on the outside cameras, which all of the McCoy era is shot on outside cameras. Everything after season 22 is shot with videotape, sadly. It never looks quite as good to me as when they shot on film. The incidental music is very, very bad. Every now and then it's not as bad, but it's typically pretty bad. And then some of acting isn't the best. The guy who plays Mordred, Gene Marsh's son, his acting is a bit hammy and over the top at times. Ha 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 ha! And then some of the choreography from the sword fights looks a little staged too. It's fine. Like the scene when two of the knights are fighting and the doctor just walks between them and they go back to it. It's a little silly. So it's a flawed but fun story. Next on the list is Arc of Infinity. This is a fun one. It's another flawed but fun story. First off, the updated effects help. Definitely watch this with the updated effects. I love the fact that the laser blast from the Time Lord guns really match up with the laser blast from the guns from the Invasion of Time. Some nice continuity there. The updated effects just do help the story. I love the location work in Amsterdam, although you kind of get the impression that I think JNT just wanted an excuse to go to Amsterdam. But the location work looks really good. The set designs look good. This is my least favorite version of Barusa. He's fine, but he's not really blowing me away, although it's nice to see him as president of the Time Lords now. I enjoy the story. I don't really care for the Ergon design at all. I think that's a terrible design. And the two kind of teenagers in it, their acting's kind of, to be honest. Although one of them's kind of hypnotized for part of it, so I guess that's kind of understandable. But it's fun. I love how they bring Omega back. I actually like Omega's performance in this, how it's toned down and how it does a good job of keeping the fact it's Omega's secret for a while. I prefer his costume in the Three Doctors, but it needs to be different here so it doesn't give away who he is. I like the mystery of that. I love having Michael Koff back. Again, I love Michael Koff. Even if, you know, who the Rogue Time Lord is, it's kind of easy to guess because it kind of goes too far out of the way to make you try not to suspect Michael Koff. And I love the scene at the end. I love Omega's plan, his plan to become human and just get back into the real world, and how happy he is briefly when he does it. And then when it all starts falling apart, how just panicked he is. And I love Peter Davison in the dual roles of it. It's a good story, a flawed but fun story. And Nyssa gets stuff to do. Nyssa gets stuff to do. This has got to be ranked kind of high because Nyssa gets a lot of stuff to do, including using a gun. That's cool. Next on the list is Megalos. That's right. So, Prowl, would you rather watch Robots of Death or Megalos? Give me Megalos well, maybe not every time. Sometimes I'm in the mood for Robots of Death. But I love Megalos. Megalos is fun. I like it. It's enjoyable. I think it's cast well. The set designs look well. I have a lot of fun with it. I love the idea of it. I love the Doctor being trapped in the time paradox and having to escape it. I love that it's the only time I've ever seen Doctor Who cast the Doctor or a companion in dual roles when it really makes sense to the plot. I mean, it's a whole plot point why Tom Baker's playing two different characters, and it works here. How they convinced Tom Baker to put on the cactus makeup is beyond me, because I kind of figured he'd take one look at that and go, no. I'm kind of surprised they got him to do it. But he's great as Megalos. I love him as Megalos. My biggest complaint about Megalos is not long enough. It's one of those that I wish had at least one more episode to it. The ending is kind of abrupt. It just kind of happens. I remember the first time I watched the story, I was like, that's it? No, I need more Megalos. I would love for this episode to have been an episode longer and them to have explored the ending a little better. And it's great to have Jacqueline Hill back in the story. I love watching her playing a different character in this story. I really enjoy watching Megalos, and that's why it ranks this high. I don't understand why it doesn't get more credit, because it's certainly not a bad story by any means. Next on the list is The Reign of Terror, one of my favorites from season 1, probably my favorite from season 1. I'm trying to think. Have we talked about all of season 1 now? Because I do think this is typically my favorite season 1 story. I like The Reign of Terror. It's a fun historical. I think the animation for episodes 4 and 5 looks really good. I tend to like the Planet 55 animation. It's not perfect. It has some odd camera stuff going on, but I do really like it. And the likenesses look a lot like the actual characters and actors. And then I just enjoy the story. I think Hartnell gets a lot of fun stuff to do here. I like the set design. It's a great slice of history. I love the first Doctor historicals when the Doctor is just kind of there and he has to get out. He's not there to change history or fix history. He just ends up at a spot in history, gets caught up in events going on, and then has to get him and his companions out of it. I love that. I want to see more of that. One of the reasons I like Demons of the Punjab so much. And so I really enjoy that. I just feel like it's executed really well in this script. Plus the Doctor gets to hit a guy over the head with a shovel. And the pleasure he seems to take in doing it. To be fair, the guy was kind of a prick to him. But to be fair, the Doctor kind of got himself into that mess with his attitude. Yeah, I really like The Reign of Terror. It's a good watch. Next on the list is Creature from the Pit. Now, I originally had this one considerably higher because this list had to go through a couple drafts. There was the initial draft, and then I had to go back and refine it. And this is one of the ones that that was originally a little higher. But I can't discount the fact that as much as I love this story, and I really do like Creature from the Pit, it's highly underrated, Episode 4 goes off the rails at the end. It really does. It becomes very uninteresting at the end. This became more apparent to me on my last rewatch, which is only the second time I'd seen it. I feel like the first 3 episodes are really strong, and the first 7 minutes or so of episode 4 are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You guys have heard me preach about that scene when the Doctor confronts the lady Andrasta, and he basically turns everyone against her. There's nothing on this planet but weeds, weeds, forest, and weeds. Have a care, Doctor. You have a care. Care about your people for a change. I absolutely love that. It is one of my favorite Tom Baker scenes, period. Tom Baker is just on fire. That is the Doctor being the Doctor. That is the Doctor when he has all the guns pointed at him, controlling the room, taking control of the situation, and turning everything around in his favor. That is what the Doctor does. And he is phenomenally good at it here. I love those 7 minutes. And both him and Myra are doing a good job. Because Myra, I love how she plays Lady Andrasta. Because she plays the Lady Andrasta, at least the way I interpret it, as very much a petulant child. Someone who grew up never being told no. Someone who probably inherited her business, because she pretty much, of course, owns all the metal. You get the feeling that she inherited this from her parents, and that she was spoiled as a child and didn't get told no enough. I mean, we've all met people like this, and is so used to getting her way. Just the way when the Doctor tells her, yeah, put your hand on it and try, and she's, no, it's a trick. You almost expect her to stomp her foot. And that really comes through in her performance, and I really, really like her performance. We call it The Pit. I love that. I love that. I love the first episode has a lot of scenes that takes place in the jungle. Also, the jungle looks really good here. I mean, it's not as good as the Planet of Evil jungle, but what is? But the jungle is really well done here. Really well done. And it's very obviously shot on film, and it looks good. I absolutely I wish more of it took place here, but a lot of episode 1 takes place in that jungle where it's shot on film. It looks really good. I mean, it's not the original film element, sadly, but it still looks good. The actress playing the older woman is really good. The actor playing the other guy down in the pit, the astrologer, he, for the most part, is good. I really don't like his final line right there at the end when he crosses his fingers. That irks me, and I really don't like that ending. But I do like him overall. Yeah, the creature design is unfortunate, but it's really only bad in a couple of scenes. Like, there are a couple of scenes where all the jokes and memes come from, especially Tom trying to communicate it. Very unfortunate, but I'm convinced they did that to Tom on purpose just to poke fun at him. But most of the time when you see the creature, it's fine. easily not the best creature in classic Doctor Who, but it's fine. Gets the job done. The set design for the caves looks really good. I feel like Lala Ward is doing a pretty good job with Romana, considering this is her first story that she recorded playing Romana. She's still trying to figure out the character. She does have a really good scene in episode 1 when she turns all of the guys who want to capture her, when she kind of turns that around on them. I love how she does that scene until K9 gets there. That's really good. And again, I love that first 7 minutes of the 4th episode. They're phenomenal. But once the Lady Andresta dies, the story just goes off the rails to me. The bit when the Doctor and the creature are having to figure out about the missile and then recover the one piece from the woman who stole it and then fly in space and do that. First off, the effects there are a bit naff. They could use some updating. I'll be honest, the effects are a bit naff there. Also, just at that point, the story loses interest. It really runs out of gas in that 4th episode, which is a bit unfortunate, and why it doesn't rank any higher. On the original list, this was considerably higher, but I had to be realistic and bump it down a pretty good ways because it does run out of gas at the end, while still being an underrated story. Next on the list is The Androids of Tara. I like this one. My opinion on this one changes with each watch, to be honest, but I always at least enjoy it, I think. I love Romana's outfit in this. That purple outfit's fantastic. Also, I have to give credit to Mary Tam. She's basically playing 4 characters in this story. Romana, the princess, the robot disguises Romana, the robot disguises the princess. And she does a good job with it. The actor playing the main antagonist, who was also in the Macroterra, is doing a really good job here. All of the people around the king and the guy playing the guy who's about to be crowned, they're doing a good job. The guest cast is really good. I love Tom Baker in this episode. He's so good. Would you mind not standing on my hat? My chest on fire. No, would you mind not standing on my chest? My hat's on fire. I love that line. I love that line. The location work looks really good. The set design looks really good. I love the swords, how they have the little energy beam going. So it's kind of like medieval times, but with a technology bent. Same thing with the crossbows. that fascinates me. I love that the 4th Doctor gets some nice sword fighting in during it. That's pretty cool. We don't get to see him sword fight like we do, some of the other Doctors. So that's pretty neat. I enjoyed that. It's a nice reminder that the Doctor is a good sword fighter because he was trained by some of the best. I don't know. Like I said, this one, it just depends on my watch through. It's not essential Doctor Who to me, except for it's part of the Key to Time saga, I guess. But it's a good watch. The Romana getting captured and getting free and getting captured and getting free again is a little tropey. And I hate seeing Romana kind of just reduced to damsel in distress because I feel like Romana should be, being a Time Lord herself, should be written better than that. So I'm always a little disappointed that she's basically damsel in distress in this story when I feel like she deserved better. So that's kind of what holds it back a bit. But it's fine. And next on the list is Time Lash. Probably a lot higher than a lot of people would have Time Lash. I have the benefits of the updated effects, though. I've never actually watched the story all the way through with the original effects. I don't think I'd enjoy it. The updated effects really help this story. Now, the part when the Doctor's in the Time Lash still goes on way too long. Like, I start getting bored. He's in there so long. But the effect of it looks way better in the original effects. I have watched Dan's comparison video between the original effects and the updated effects. The updated effects are way better. Also, the Borad makeup is phenomenally good, especially for Classic Who, just in general. The Borad makeup looks way better than the effect for Lazarus and the Lazarus experiment, let's be honest. I think the Borad makeup's really impressive. We got to give it that. And I love Paul Darrow in this episode. Paul Darrow is so much fun to watch in this episode. He is just eating the scenery like he's at a buffet, and I'm loving every second of it. And how it ties in with H.G. Wells in the story is also really nice. I don't think it's essential viewing, but I prefer watching. I've only watched it the one time, but I enjoyed that one watch through. I enjoy it more than I do, like, say, Revelation of the Daleks, for example. I'd rather watch Time Lash. Again, I think a lot of this is due to the updated effects. But that's the reason why it ranks this high, is I enjoyed my watch through of it. Now, on rewatch, I don't know how I'll feel. We'll see. But I don't know. I think it's a sound script that's always been let down by the execution of the sound script. But when you have the updated effects, and you have Paul Darrow obviously having fun, I think that does help the story out and help it live up to its original potential. Next on the list is Paradise Towers. I do like Paradise Towers a lot. I need to give it a rewatch. I've still only watched it the one time, right when the box set came out, but I really like this one, especially when you watch the making of and you realize some of the stuff that they wanted to do but didn't do, like how all the young men are supposed to be gone and it's only the older men, out-of-shape men left in charge, and how the rule book was supposed to have been like that thick. Little things like that kind of help it. The character of Pex is interesting because it kind of gives you an idea of how a 5-year-old thinks a superhero is supposed to act. Like, Pex, to me, seems like a kid who never grew up, and he's acting the way a child thinks a superhero is supposed to act. With that headcanon in my head, he really works. Richard is doing a good job playing kind of the head security guard. I like him in that role, especially in most of the story. I think he's really good. All hail the great architect. Kill him. I love that. McCoy's putting in a really good performance. Mel is fine. I do love the cannibal ladies. The cannibal ladies are great. The iconic imagery of them getting dragged down the garbage disposal, that's crazy. It's a really dark story. Despite what people say about season 24 being silly and campy, this is a really dark story when you really think about the subject matter, because you have things like carnivores, people getting drugged down garbage chutes, you know, a cleaner going by with a leg sticking out, a sentient being screaming hungry, that you have body possession. There's a lot of really chilling things that, if this story had been done in the Hinchcliffe era, would have been filmed drastically differently to really enhance the creepiness of the story. The only problem with it is that it is shot in that season 24 overlit camp style because they were trying to tone down the violence, supposedly. That kind of hinders it. I still think Richard, once he's possessed, is fine. I don't get bugged by it, by some people do. As I've said before, I'm taking into account the fact that we're talking about an entity that has not been in a physical body in a long time. And it's not even in its own physical body. It's adjusting. You know, it's like riding a bike. You don't know how to do it instantly. You know, being a gymnastic, artist or being a trapeze artist. Those aren't things you're just going to be inherently good at. It takes practice. I'm pretty sure these people who win Olympic medals don't just decide the day of, yeah, I can do that. They practice at it. So it's kind of the same here. I'm sure over time he would get better in that body. So Richard's performance doesn't bother me like it does some people. I think the only reason it doesn't rank higher is I just haven't watched it in a while. I think if I did a rewatch of it, it would probably rank higher on the list because I do find it a very enjoyable story. Next on the list is Dragonfire. Now, you guys know I like Dragonfire a lot. It's a great introduction to Ace. We get rid of Mel. We get Glitz back, and I absolutely love Glitz. I love Glitz. Glitz is so cool, so I'm so happy to have Glitz back. Even though Glitz does terrible things like selling his crew, Tony just plays him as this lovable rogue, so you just forgive him everything. The guy playing Kane gives such a good performance. He gives a appropriately enough chilling performance in places. And we also have Patricia as well from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. She is great in this. It's a good cast. I like the set design a lot. I love the design of the alien creature. I love the twist with the alien creature. Yes, the cliffhanger that's literally a cliffhanger is naff because they don't explain it properly and it's kind of silly. And the Doctor slipping around while nobody else is a little silly. I don't mind Sylvester slipping around. I mind everyone else forgetting to slip around, which makes it inconsistent. So it does have little things you can nitpick, but I always find it a fun watch and a great introduction for Ace. Next on the list, and as high as it should be, and most of you wouldn't agree, and shame on you, is Underworld. I like Underworld. The only bad thing Underworld really has going for it is the CSO. And the CSO in some shots isn't bad. Let's keep in mind, this is early days of this technology, this blue screen. And on a Doctor Who budget. I think they pull it off well, considering the budget situation they were in, with the money running out, with inflation being so bad. And again, this is another thing where having knowledge of the behind-the-scenes stuff can really help you appreciate this story more. And it's really just the CSO that looks bad. The model work looks fantastic. I never understand. I was saying something to somebody about this the other day, actually, down in one of the comments of one of their videos. When people talk about the bad FX or the bad special effects of Underworld, I'm always like, the model work is some of the best in the show, in the classic series. You see these sweeping shots of the ship going by. When the ship rises out from the planet and it's got that cool steam coming off of it as it goes by. The model work in episodes 1 and 4 is very good. Some of the best in Classic Who. So I don't ever want to hear about bad special effects in Underworld. Now, if you don't like the CSO, say that. Say, I don't like the bad CSO. Fine. I will give you that. But don't just sit here and give me this blanket statement of bad FX when it's clearly not the case in the rest of it. I think the lasers look cool, how they're like green and bluish. I love the effect of the laser blast in this. They don't need updated lasers. The lasers work. I like the actors. I feel like the actors are putting in a good performance. That, they sell me on everything here. The Question's the Quest is a little silly, but it's fine. I love that it expands on Time Lord lore, learning that the event of this planet. Yeah, Underworld's just underrated for me. I'm not saying it's like S tier or even A tier. I enjoy my watch throughs of it when I have them, but I don't really think it needed updated effects. I think the CSO work did need some cleaning up, like maybe Terror of the Autons. That I could accept. The model work is fine. I'm glad they went Horror of Fang Rock on the season 15 route, considering they were considering doing Underworld as well. I think they made the right choice. Give Underworld another watch with a critical eye, with a grown critical eye, and maybe you'll reassess it as well. Of all the stories, I feel like it could be... It and Revenge of the Cybermen, I think, are the two most underrated stories in all of classic Doctor Who. And I'd rather watch Underworld over Robots of Death most days, unless I'm just wanting to look at that cool robot and ship design from Robots of Death, which is totally awesome. Next on the list is The Keys of Marinus, a great first Doctor story, possibly the first truly great Doctor Who story. Hard to say with Marco being missing. I like the fact that each episode kind of acts as its own individual episode, with the whole story being almost like a seasonal arc. It's kind of like The Key to Time, but on a smaller scale, with each episode being drastically different than the episode surrounding it. And they're all good. I like all of them. It's unlike The Chase, where some I like, some I don't. You know, you have the first episode, which kind of sets up the scenario of hunting down the keys, which is a great opening. You have the episode that's in the city with the illusions. You have the episode that's in the dangerous jungle. You have the episode in the snow. You have the episode that kind of reminds me of a Perry Mason murder mystery. Then the final episode kind of, episode 6, kind of finishes up episode 5 and then comes back around to where episode 1 was. I like that. I think the cast do a good job. Susan's falling down hurting herself, but Carolyn just never got a lot to do with that, or Carol Ann Ford, actually. I'm thinking Carolyn John just didn't get enough to do with that role, honestly. But yeah, it's a fun watch. I've only watched it the one time. I need to give it a rewatch, but I found it thoroughly enjoyable. One of my favorites from season 1. Oddly enough, I'm kind of surprised it ranked higher than Reign of Terror. I usually call Reign of Terror my favorite of season 1, but apparently as I'm doing this, Keys of Marinus is probably the highest ranking one for season 1. Next on the list is Enlightenment, and I like all 3 versions of Enlightenment. I like it with the original 83 effects, I like the 2023 effects, and I enjoy the 2009 edited version with those updated effects. That's probably my favorite version, actually. I think if I went by just that version, this would be a little higher on the list, although some of the updated effects were unnecessary. But overall, I like it. Plus, I just like the trimmed down version of it. I think because that's the version I'm used to watching. When I watch the full versions, it just feels like there's padding in there. that doesn't need to be there. Of course, I always love having Valentine back as the Black Guardian. That voice of his is so great. It's nice having the other guy back as the White Guardian. The guest cast are pretty good in this. They have this very alien feel to them, like the one that's creepily interested in Tegan, even though he doesn't know he's being kind of creepy. Of course, having Linda as the pirate captain, she's great in that role. I like the fact that Tegan gets a lot to do in this story. That's pretty cool. And it's a nice finale for the Black Guardian trilogy, and to kind of see Turlough, when he has the opportunity to destroy the Doctor, he does the right thing instead and takes out the Black Guardian. That's pretty cool. Nice character growth for Turlough, I think. It's a really good story. I just think it works better when it's edited down. Next on the list is Mission to the Unknown. I have seen the college reconstruction of this and Ian Levine's animation of this. They're both good. I enjoy both of them. I just like the story. I like the idea of this being a prelude to Dalek's Master Plan, which I haven't seen. And I just like the actual story. I like that it's self-contained in one episode. I like the fact it has none of our principal players in it. That's pretty neat to me. I love the little cactus plant creatures or cactus animal creatures, the little walking cactuses. Not Vardens, that's not the right word, but whatever they are, I like them. That's a cool concept. You know, if it sticks you, it drives you mad and eventually turns you into one of them. That's how it reproduces. That's so cool. And they're supposed to be from Skaro, but we've never seen them on Skaro, but I love the concept. That's fascinating. And then, of course, seeing the Daleks being the Daleks, running around, destroying the ship and exterminating everything. Both versions, the animation and the reconstruction, have a really good atmosphere to them. And you see the desperation kind of on the astronauts when they slowly start to realize that they're probably screwed, but they're trying to get a message out. I really find this an enjoyable watch. And again, being only one episode, it doesn't take up a lot of time to go through it. I have a feeling I'll appreciate it even more when I do eventually watch Master Plan. It's just a really good story. And the last one we're going to talk about today, The Smugglers. Now, I haven't seen The Smugglers, but I have read the novelization of The Smugglers, and I enjoyed that a lot. It doesn't stick in my mind a lot, but it has that kind of pirate feel to it. It has pirates in it. The bit with the kind of gatekeeper at the beginning who sends them on his way, and how he has to confront kind of the second in command of the pirates, who is a lot like Starscream actually and has designs of his own. Again, the details don't really stick out to me, but I do remember really, really liking The Smugglers and wishing it existed and hoping it gets animated. I really hope they do animate The Smugglers. I'm always excited to get more of Season 4, as I love Season 4, and this is just another step on me loving Season 4 when I read the novel. So yeah, The Smugglers, a really good read. Looking forward to finding out if it's a good watch. So that's where we're going to stop for today. I want to know what you think of the list so far. We're about halfway through the video series now, wrapping up video 3. Comment down below and let's talk about your thoughts on it. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. I have links to my Patreon down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney and Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It is appreciated. I also have links to my Amazon wish list and my Amazon UK wish list, which I've added some stuff to recently if you want to check that out. And my P.O. box is down there as well. I appreciate all of the support people have given. It really makes my day when I get fan mail in. You can probably tell when I do unboxing videos, I light up like a Christmas tree. I get so excited. So I really appreciate everyone who's sent things over the past couple years. It really means a lot. And most importantly, thank you for watching.